And before the next episode of the Yalla Butt podcast, a little message from Folklory, our audio service where we interview your loved ones to capture stories and memories as podcasts. Now, if you're wondering what exactly that sounds like, what you're going to listen to next is a short excerpt where I interviewed one of our customers who wanted to create something special for her parents. What are your earliest memories of your parents?
I had this very random memory of me being like 5, and I was walking with my dad in the orphanage, and my shoelaces got untied, so my mom is very like she's a bit of the disciplinarian, so she expects us to be very like independent and do things on our own, but because my mom wasn't there, right, so my dad picked me up, and then he tied my shoelaces for me. So I remember that being like one of my favorite memories, because obviously like yeah, I know I should be doing it, but I felt very like, yay, my dad's still spoiling me. Yeah.
Oh, and how old were you?
I was maybe like 4 or 5. Yeah.
Do you think he remembers that specific memory?
I don't know. I don't think so. Like, I've never actually mentioned it before.
So yeah, our folklories are typically 30 minutes in length, where we will cover questions like that and really create something quite special. So if you've got a special occasion coming up in the next month or two, could be a birthday, anniversary, what else, Terence? What are the kind of milestones?
I mean, even just to say I love you to
true.
someone that you care about.
Yeah, exactly. Our recording slots for March are now open.
So if you order your Folklory by February 29th, we can guarantee that you'll get it by the end of March at the latest. So Harish, if people are interested to find out more about Folklory, what's the best way to get started?
Well, there's a link in the show notes, which if you click, you will chat with us directly on WhatsApp. In case you have any questions or anything, you will chat directly with us and we'll respond as soon as we can. Of course, if you want to find out all the other info, FAQs, and other details about pricing, you can check out our website, folklory.com. But that's about it. Pretty simple.
And now, on to the podcast.
I didn't see it as like, well, Rosie, you can study again, that type of thing. I was like, why now, right?
Yeah.
Like, why this? That means in the next 2-3 years, you'll likely see a lot of people that are middle or lower, that will lose their jobs.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yalla, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man. Today we're first podcast of the week, but we came off a weekend where there was a lot of money stuff being discussed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm always very glad when we get this guest on, because I think everyone really appreciates the insight, the alternative insights that he brings to the table, but also because he's a real pro in this podcast space, right? And not everyone understands podcasts as well as him, and I think that's what adds to the how fun and how informative this conversation becomes.
Yeah, correct. And I mean, this is the same guest we had last year, same time, to talk about the same thing. It's 1 year on, and we'd like to welcome back none other than Reggie from the Financial Coconut.
Whoa, it's our third year running, actually.
Third year running?
Yeah, bro.
Oh, shit.
But I cannot remember what happened in the first year.
Which was the one we did, a two-parter?
2022.
Oh, so that was the first one?
The first one. Right? Then 2023 was Lawrence.
Yes.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
so first one was Sugar
Daddy Heng. Yeah. And then Lawrence. You have a name for him?
Don't have yet.
Okay, we'll think about it. Yeah.
And
And then this is our third year running, bro.
Lawrence again.
Yeah.
The last time Lawrence will be doing it?
And I don't know.
No, but next year.
Yeah, probably.
If he becomes PM, right?
Then he won't be
another
doing it.
finance
Someone else will be
minister.
doing it. Who do you think will be doing it?
Oh, yeah, we don't know.
Yeah. Who feels like can do it?
Oh, finance minister.
Yeah. It's not easy. This is a difficult speech.
I mean, isn't like the Alvin Tan also in? He's
in the running.
He's in the finance. Right? He's a. I think he's what do you call the junior minister in finance?
Second minister.
Second
Yeah.
minister.
Junior.
We talk about politics then.
Hey, bro, isn't this like your wheelhouse?
Yeah,
Yeah, this is a wheelhouse.
There's so
You
many.
talk about senior minister of
Yeah,
state, so
yeah,
go
yeah.
junior minister of state, is it?
Dude, I'm past 40 already. I'm in that age. They need to give me money to start upskilling and
Not
improving my
yet, not yet.
cognitive skills.
May.
So
Yeah.
don't judge me for forgetting stuff. That's right. Correct not.
Yeah, correct.
But actually, but talking about Financial Coconut, like What's been up since the last time you were on?
I'm actually amazed that you guys are still doing 3 episodes a week.
Oh, is it?
In amount of output is crazy.
Yeah.
like it's just been hard lah. So
Mm.
we kind of like shrunk a little bit, do some stuff, just optimize what sells or
Okay,
right.
okay.
So yeah,
Now you
it's
have
kinda
2
how it is.
shows.
Yeah, with 2 shows running. Yeah,
Which is
so
what are the 2 shows?
Wise and Shine, which is about personal growth, personal development. So all the
Mm.
mental health budget can come lah, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
yeah.
so that's that. And then
Yeah.
the other one is Chills with TFC, essentially interview series, talk about the big and small finance and all that lah.
I see.
Right. So essentially I killed everything that did not sell.
Oh, is it?
So I kept whatever that sold lah, because that's just the reality of the game, right?
Yeah lah,
so
yeah
yeah.
lah.
So,
But the direction is still like the same lah, right? Personal finance.
yeah, I would say it's still the same, but I think we have gotten a little bit of traction in the whole like budget discussion, policy. Like this year I have a few like speaking gigs
Oh,
around.
lama.
Wallah, bro, aku
Yeah.
level up say, right?
Level up, power lah.
Yeah. So that's quite nice. I think we've found some footing.
Mm.
Yeah, because it's quite a crowded space if you think about it. There are a lot
Yeah.
of people doing all sorts of finance content.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And I think like personal finance is probably more on the minds of people than ever before, given every discussion is about rising costs, inflation, economic recession. Stuff like that, right?
Actually, I challenge that notion, because I think the people that really care about personal finance are the people that have finance.
Mm.
Right, because then they're thinking of like, what can I do next? How do I plan forward? What are the opportunities? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Right, because we surveyed the guys, right? So we kind of know like, okay, where are they?
Oh.
And the people that are kind of like tightening our belts, right? So
Mm.
things are difficult. They don't care about personal finance. They just care about surviving.
I see.
Mm.
Right, it's a very different perspective, lah. Right, they will not think of like, how can I plan my budget? All that. Just trying to make ends
So
meet.
would you say that the people who are still, trying to make ends meet, they think about finance but in a very different way? Like more the cost, not about maximizing how much they
I
have,
would think more people are just thinking of like trying to get by, right? And very, very understandable.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
So I do think there's some differences, because you will not tune in every week to the Financial Coconut if you don't have money.
I see.
Right. So that's kind of my thought process around it, lah.
So has that informed the way you structure your show and everything?
Yes, it has a little bit of
okay,
that, but I know. Shout out to all our listeners. I haven't been doing a lot of investment focused content. Yeah, because it's a bit hard to do those things, and nobody really buys those things. So that's a different discussion. But yeah, people have been asking, so some of the listeners, they do feedback lah, because previously we were doing more, right? So they're kind of expecting all these things. Then now you kind of downsize, so people will be like, hey, why you're not doing that anymore?
I see.
Yeah, so you just kind of wait, give us a bit more time. I close a few more deals, then I'll come back and invest in those things. Yeah.
So when you say that you focus on like budget and that politics, policies in some way and all that, you mean you're going more towards like commenting on the economic policies and politics in particular in Singapore and things like that lah.
I think so. I would say so. Yeah, maybe not like politics full on.
Okay.
Like sometimes people still feel like the jitters in the team. Like, y'all really want to talk about this?
Uh-huh.
So it's like, yeah, we're not Yalabat, right? That's why I'm on the show here, so that I can say whatever I want to say that I cannot say at TFC, right?
Anything goes, man.
So yeah, that's kind of what it is. So we're not like fully political commentary, but we do try to like break down the policies just to get some clarity lah. Because as with all politicians, right, they will market something, right? So they'll tell this, but then like what does the policies really look like, and what does it suggest?
Okay.
Who does it work for? I think that's kind of where I'm thinking of more law.
So were you excited leading up to Budget 2024?
Yeah, I would say I'm excited. Yeah, I'll be more excited if a sponsor came in. Yeah, so but it's just fun lah. It's just one of those things like every year you gotta do it, and the SEO is super supportive during this period.
Who?
The SEO.
Oh, SEO.
Yeah,
I see.
SEO is our good friend during this period, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just helps the network, helps the traffic, everything.
So it's like a yearly milestone. You all like plan around it and
we
all.
do. We plan 2 months ahead, bro.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
then we'll track. We'll have some sort of a general idea what we're trying to do, and then you track Parliament speeches. Kind of get a good sense of it lah. So we actually had a watch party, bro. The whole team streaming on Zoom, and then just kind of like and then there was like a Notion board. It's like, hey, this is blah, 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 blah. So everything was just kind of like getting jotted down. And
Dude,
then,
you should make that an event, man. I think people will join.
Yeah. Okay. Next year we do together.
Can.
Okay.
Then we provide live commentary.
Yeah, live commentary.
Live commentary.
Okay. Yeah.
Can we go and listen to the budget in Parliament?
Then you cannot do live commentary there, bro.
You
You know, actually, I don't know whether you can.
but you can't do. It's parliamentary sitting. What it is.
I think you
considered
can.
parliamentary
Yeah,
sitting,
it's a
is it?
parliamentary sitting. So
Oh.
technically you can. Parliamentary
Oh, I
sitting, you
see, I
can
see, I
go
see.
in. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
true,
yeah. But
See, yeah. Maybe
yeah.
next year we try it.
Next year we
Maybe.
see. Because very hard to monetize. No big brands really want to sponsor.
Oh, you're
the
really
budget.
financial coconut.
Yeah. Bro,
It's
I
like-
learned already this
That's
thing.
all.
I learned already. Because firstly, you cannot get the foreign banks to sponsor this thing. Considered political, right? On some
Yeah.
level. Then you get the local financial institutes to sponsor this, right? Then they all like, I'm not sure, politics, all that, right? So I get it, I get it. Everybody want to be brand safe, right?
I see, I
So
see.
it's okay. We do our own event, we monetize it. Okay,
Can.
ground up.
Can.
So
Okay.
see you all next year live.
We'll do it.
So that means your whole weekend also was spent on the budget.
Yeah, bro, no Ed Sheeran concert. Saturday afternoon, we were just watching it, and then like at night there was like meetings, and then people were just writing, producer were
Wow.
updating the questions, resending out to the guests. We were recording the next morning.
Mm.
Yeah, and then turn over the weekend, Monday, pop, it went out. So yeah, first episode out this morning.
Oh,
So
solid.
why specifically for you is it so important? To really break it down for your audience. Like why? Like you're saying about like you think that a lot of people are more concerned about survival rather than really about having money to invest. So why is it for that group of people like concerned with survival that this would be very important?
To be fair, if you're concerned with survival, right, then government policies make even stronger impact on your life, right? Like with skills futures, with some of these like incentives that are being built, right? Actually, it impacts the middle class the most, right? In a very significant way. The government, they care about the rich in the sense of like how much they can tax, right? But they don't really care about like distributing things to the rich, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's why I think we wanted to talk more about it, when it comes to this aspect. All right. Generally, I like it. It's one of those things that is like kind of like borderline political, and then I can still talk about it in a finance parameter, right? So kind of fit the brand.
Yeah.
We care about it. A lot of the people on the team care about it, right? And let us not forget, depending on how policies are set, it affects everything. Right, your property tax, your property prices, as much as there's some sort of a market out there, it affects how the market moves, right? Labor, everything, right? So policies are one of those things that, it must go beyond the ang pao right? You cannot just look at, watch those listicles. Oh, these are the ang paos you're gonna get, right? And then
The six takeaways.
And then that's all, right?
Yeah.
But actually, the other things are more important, right? In my view, a lot of the other things are more important. Yeah.
So over the weekend, how would you describe your feeling after this budget compared to the previous few years?
I think this year, after they tax more last 2 years, this year a bit more giving.
Oh, more
Okay,
giving.
a bit more giving on some level. I think that's the tonality that's going out. But also it's I feel like it's a bit more of a change. Like the change is quite big. Okay, at least from the labor front. This year there's no big wealth taxes, right? So remember previously we were talking about taxing supercars, taxing the houses, property, everything. So there are no big changes on that front. But I think there is a very big shift in terms of working professionals. Like the whole skills future thing. Now you can go back poly, bro. Study again. Whatever. Do all that. So I think there's more of that I thought was like, quite interesting, because it kind of runs counter with like we want to get 2 to 3% GDP growth for the next decade, because that's the narrative that you open with, right? Oh, this is our growth target for the next 10 years. Then why you need to expand all these things now, right? That means on some level the market is saying that I think a lot of people lose their jobs, right? So meanwhile, while you lose your jobs, then at least you can go back and study, you get paid in some ways, you have some sort of allowance. So you can manage society in some ways. At least that's kind of how I looked at it. I didn't see it as like, rosy, you can study again, that type of thing. I was like, why now, right?
Yeah.
Like, why this? That means in the next 2-3 years, you'll likely see a lot of people that are middle or lower, that will lose their jobs.
So you're sort of reading the tea leaves a bit. I mean, we said the context is like Lawrence Wong is about to take over as Prime Minister soon. Election year, maybe early next year, whatever. And you also, the third thing is basically a lot of people are going to lose jobs. That's what you're saying, that you're reading from. That's what the parameters are out there.
I think so. And I can stand by that. Right? I think so. Because I have two assumptions. My first assumption is the Singapore government of the day still don't believe in the welfare state, right? Does not mean I believe in it, but they don't believe in it, okay? And they finally talk a little bit about some sort of unemployment, scheme of some sort, but the name very long, I cannot even remember. transitioning something involuntary retirement.
Oh yeah,
It's a very long line. They haven't decided. The comms guys haven't decided what's the ultimate words to use. So finally, they're entertaining that. There are no details yet. Probably in a few months, you'll start to see that. At the same time, then there's an expansion of like going back to school, like giving you all this skills future credit, So fundamentally, it means that they still don't want you to sit around. They want you to do something. And if that's the case, if I suddenly expand all these things, then on some level, I am forecasting that a lot of people, will lose their jobs.
Wow.
Right. So that's kind of my thought process around it. Right. And not the senior or high level working professionals. If you all read the MOM report, right, before the parliament, before this budget speech, the median income for university grad in Singapore is 8,000 something. Okay, so that's the median. So everybody add together the 50th person in the 50th percentile is about 8,000.
This is not fresh grads, like
not fresh grads.
In general,
all
degree
the
holders.
uni grads. Yes, all the uni grads. So run of the mill degree holder, about 8,000 plus, right? So on some level, the policy is not targeted at these people.
Yeah.
Right. They're doing good. They're making well. Why would you take a pay cut of 3,000, of like to 3,000 to go and study in a poly? You won't want, right?
Yeah.
So it's targeting at people that are earning maybe like 4 plus 5, like the working professionals that maybe work in SMEs, or work in some of the operational elements of MNC that's not making the very, very big numbers, that government is probably trying to say that, hey, looks like your jobs are going to kena very soon. Why not, meanwhile, take the benefit, go and study and see whether you can pivot into somewhere else. That's kind of how I look at the message.
So then, but the jobs being taken is not just all AI, right?
No,
it's increased competition from foreign talent or...
I think it's... Actually, I do think a lot is AI driven, right? Like, I mean, like, even my guys, we don't really write everything on our own anymore, right? The AI kind of settle a lot of those things. You just key in the prompts, they change up some of the stuff. You just need to fact check whether is it accurate, and it goes out already.
Yeah.
Right. So what used to probably take like 3 days to write, right? It's like just like maybe 2 hours. Right. So the kind of volume that you can create is much higher, right? So a lot of these things will all get optimized. Right. So I feel like companies will be increasingly incentivized to optimize some of these processes.
AI,
right. So use AI, and it's getting easier and easier. In the past, maybe you need to be a coder, right? Now a lot of the prompts, it's just like texting your friend, right?
Even to write code, you can use
exactly.
AI.
No code, right? So a lot of these things are just kind of like making it easier. So all the people in the middle, they are just more operational. I do think a lot of their jobs will be on the chopping block. Yeah, that's not what the government says, just to be clear. But this is how I read it. Right, so the people that make 4,000-5,000, they will be relatively okay to take that 3,000 allowance to then go and study and then take a pivot. So your pain is not so bad, right? So I think that's kind of how. Provided you're 40, and Lawrence say if you're not 40, wait. 40, you get your turn soon, right? So
because the things around that is that there's a $4,000 skills future top up, and then the thing about that 3,000 allowance, if I recall, it is for up to 2 years. You can get 50% of your previous income up till 3,000 to study. That means essentially you're not working, you're studying, but you can still get an allowance.
Yeah.
Right. For 2 years.
Yeah.
Which is quite substantial.
Substantial. It is essentially the government saying that, okay, it's painful, I know. How about I pay I pay some, you go and study. Right. So it solves a few problems. It solves the people that involuntarily retired because they, their skill set is no longer relevant. It solves the situation of like, okay, so many people suddenly, if they lose their jobs, what's going to happen to them? You don't want them on the streets, right? You want them to kind of still be around and feel like it's okay, not so bad, tarik. And the economy is not good for the next 2 years. Most recessions, the longest recessions last about 3 years, right? So you should have enough time to kind of like get it back. Right. So I don't think it's bad. Yeah.
Were you surprised by a policy or?
I am actually quite surprised. Right. I'm actually quite surprised. Wow, this is a big expansion, from a social,
safety net kind of thing.
Yeah. I think it's a social safety net. I look at it as a social safety net. Yeah. And on some level, you don't want to overspend such a cost inflation, right? I think Vivian said it, candidly in one of Vivian Macam, our friend.
Vivian B.
Vivian B,
Vivian
bro.
B.
Yeah, one of our friends. He said it while, in one of the speeches previously. It's like, everybody knows that if you spend too much, it causes inflation, right? I mean, like, most of the people that are in the space will know, but it's quite candid for somebody of his stature to, say that. right? So fundamentally, if you want to spend on the people, but you don't want the cost inflation, what's the best way? Spend at the education institute lah. Right? Then you spend there, then it ends up as an endowment fund for like Temasek Poly or like Singapore Poly.
Yeah.
Right? Then it will not cause runaway inflation in the open markets. It will just be in the endowment fund.
But they didn't say what fields that you can study, right? He did have one caveat,
There
right?
is they are narrowing, right?
They are
So you
narrowing,
cannot
yeah.
like do $4,000 like coffee course. You know,
Yeah,
no $4,000 coffee, baking, all that, all don't have, right? Yeah. So I think the $4,000 will go into, you know, so-called career, employability, skill set type of thing. So
AI lah, basically AI lah.
and maybe like some database management, you know, some calculator stuffs, you know, some of those things. And I think you will pick it up in polytechnics or like some of the ITs right? So I think if I am gearing the policy, which we will get more details soon, you know, I think it will end up, most of the money will end up in these places. Yeah, so that's kind of how I looked at it.
But you guys like all used up your skills future and everything.
I think I used part of it. Yeah.
You also maxed out already? Or?
No, part of it.
Yeah. Same. I've done like one course.
What course?
I think like some long ago like drone videography related or something like that. Learn how to, you know, use drones to film stuff and all.
I did like
that's quite good lah, bro. At least you're in the industry.
Yeah. Still in the industry. But what you're saying is that I can't like, I want to save money on say servicing my aircon. I go and take a skills future course on learning.
Unless you plan to become an aircon serviceman.
Hey,
but he's saying that.
No, I won't be surprised that could be a thing. You know?
Could be what?
Yeah, because that is employable.
Yeah.
Employable, but then doesn't prep you for the next wave of like AI taking over.
So then it comes down to how narrow.
How narrow is being
because
defined.
I did my skills future on a home like certification to sell food that you make from home. I went with my wife. And then like, I don't know, like in some way, does that classify as making me more employable if I want to go into F&B?
Yeah.
Don't know, right?
So those are the things that you gotta wait for the policy to come out, right? And then they'll probably refine over the years.
Suddenly it's AI, fundamentals of AI, advanced AI.
No lah, cannot be
AI.
everything is AI lah, right? But you know, I think there'll be some of those things lah, right? But as to the exact details, nobody knows.
Yeah.
But what is interesting is depending on how the government scopes it, then it also indicates where they foresee are the growth areas, right? Because that's what they're trying to get people to do, right? So that you can transit. So if they open up this lane, then they are scoping that this lane will be a growth area right, that you can explore.
I see.
Something like that. That's kind of how I looked at it.
So reading the tea leaves, you're saying that they'll probably scope a lot of things related to AI, technology and all that.
Probably. Or the care economy, some of the green thing, which they have been talking for a while, right?
True.
Yeah, fair lah. I think that will be the lanes. It would unlikely will be other things lah.
How about mental health? Like there's a big thing about mental health that Lawrence Wong recently spoke about. Right?
Yeah, I think there'll be some of that, you know. But mental health professionals take more than 2 years at a poly program to become a professional.
So cannot become counselor lah. You can't upskill.
I think it takes 4 years at least.
Okay.
And I think even psychiatrists, I know up till a few years ago, you needed a master's to actually practice.
To practice. I don't know what has changed. They'll probably have a final breakdown of it, but probably it will be something. You know, early childhood development. You know, some of the past few years type of things that have been discussed. I think it should all be part of the skills array lah. Yeah.
But I do see one big thing lah. It's you know, they're encouraging people to go and study for diplomas lah, right? But I think ITE students specifically get like a very very much bigger like CPF top up or grant or something like that lah. But not for like poly or even like degrees and whatever lah, right? Why do you think the focus on ITE students per se lah? Like I mean, at the end of the day, is in ITE they learn a lot more practical technical skills lah, right? Is that you know, like people are saying that in Singapore we always care about we don't care about the heart.
We care about the brain,
work, right? Only the hard work. Is that, you think there's a sort of a shift in that, like emphasizing the importance of those people who are without those skills?
Actually, I think there's some level of that, but my bet when I look at it, it's more like we're trying to keep more people in the schools. Right, because the economy is a bit wonky. We're not sure what's going to happen. So like, you know, you 40 plus, you know, maybe you lose your job. Maybe you feel like, this is damn sian, very jaded. You want to change something else. Then, you go back to school, you tarik first. You know, you spend some time there, right? And if you're in ITs or in your polys, you know, then you can study a bit more, stay a bit longer, right? And then And then maybe specifically for the IT students, then the government want to incentivize you to do another 2-3 years in the poly lah, right? I think it's 3 years, right? Or 2 years. I think you can offset 1 year lah, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? So do a bit more, and then at the end still give you a candy, right? 10,000, right? So that's kind of the situation. So my thought process is more like, okay, economy is don't look too rosy. Government wants to, kind of stimulate the economy a bit. At the same time, manage the social tensions that usually comes out from a bad economy. You see all over the world, right? So what do? Get people back to school, change the internet wire, all those things, right? Yeah. So now the internet is 10 GB, right? So a lot of these things are kind of like upgrading works. When the markets are not so good, then the state comes in to spend on it lah.
There was one point where he said there's the part of the social compact, right, is to uplift everybody lah, right? Including people at all ends of the workforce lah, all spectrum. But then they still predict that the economy, the GDP will grow by like 1 to 2%, right?
Yeah, that's the part that I found a bit like.
So so that's why if okay, like reading between the lines, and of course this is all like our own analysis.
Yeah, this is our own analysis. We will get more information as it comes up. Yes.
That if there's expectation that okay, maybe the job market might be tight, more people need to be studying, then the GDP growth is coming from a certain few pillar industries.
Finance, tech, probably.
Manufacturing. No, not the semiconductor.
Yeah,
semicon,
right? Finance. Yeah, maybe more of that. Finance probably. Yeah, when the world is messy, which is what's happening, money will flow somewhere. So money will have to decide where it flows to.
And Singapore finance is boom time.
So it's boom time, right? Like I have friends who are getting hired for mid-office, back-office roles. It's like, why would finance hire mid-office people? Finance is everything about sales. Like the mid-office guys are essentially your people that kind of like process the information, do your KYC, get the thing approved, all the people in the middle. These are the people that you only hire when business is good.
There's a lot to do.
Right, there's a lot to do. A lot of people want to clear, a lot of KYC to do. Then you hire them. So a lot of my friends are experiencing hiring booms in finance, right? So that means finance is good. As to exactly how good, not sure. Numbers will wait and see, right? So in other words, some sectors will do well, some sectors will not do so well. Yeah. And then you as the government try to kind of manage this lah. So the people that are doing well, then okay lah, all the best, tax you more, or something. Then the people that are not doing so well, then you want to provide some sort of a structure to.
So then why did you find it odd that there was still a forecast of GDP growth?
I find it odd because exactly like what you said lah, right? Like if you think like the economy is not going to be so good, you want to get people to go study, then why you forecast a growth, right? Then the only reason in my head is probably because finance is doing very well, no? Yeah, so you can kind of manage that for a while, kind of like, hold it for everyone, hard carry, right? But
because like what you
do
said,
people still use hard carry? Like Gen Z has a different language.
Tristen, hard carry can.
Hard carry can. You get it.
Tristen
Tristen approve. Finance is going to do a hard carry for a while lah. Yeah.
Because like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but this year also, like what you said, right? There wasn't any new increase of like, extra tax, extra ABSD, extra. So no real indicator of, based on the financial policies of income generation for the government, right? So I mean, it's really just the sectors that they feel are doing well.
I mean, GDP takes into account the overall transactions, right? Not so much the tax. It's two different things, right? So it's GDP first, then we kind of tax on it, right?
I see.
So but you can say that because the government already taxed past 2 years, they already set up the infrastructure, they're trying to gather information on how it works, cannot every year change the tax code, right?
Yeah.
Every year change the tax code, very scary, this government.
Yeah.
So after you set up already, then you wait, you see a few years, because businesses are not idiots also, right? Humans are also not idiots, right? So if you think it's too hard, you will move. Business think it's too hard, they will move. So you give the market maybe 2-3 years, kind of like, then okay, so this is the new normal. Yeah. Right? Yeah, that's kind of where it is.
So funny you're talking about that, right? Do you feel that, I felt like the last couple of years, the budget, there was a lot more discussion about how to, say tax the rich or, extract more value of them or, inequality in society, blah, blah. This one I felt like didn't really have that kind of like connotations to it, where it's about, not say punishing, but it sounds a bit more punitive for people moving a lot of money in and out. Is that, do you think that, why do you think that's the case? Is it really like that's the biggest concern for them now, like keeping the masses employed, or is it, as a lot of online chatter is saying, is that Singapore is losing its shine as a place to park your money and as a hub and global hub for a lot of different things. Like a lot of big MNCs are moving HQs away from here because it's expensive and things like that. What's your feel of it, lah?
Okay, this one you need more exact data, right? Because it's all sentiment driven at this point in time. So everybody will say what they want to say, right? But I think there are a few things that, particularly for what you've set up, we could highlight. Number one is the government openly admit that they actually wanted to target only 7% of property owners, the top 7%, because they wanted the property tax to come from there. In the end, based on their tax structure, they targeted about 13% of the overall thing. So, and that's why they are shifting the annual value, right? So they shift the annual value. In other words, the property prices now have a higher band, right? So you gotta, your value got to be higher to pay the same amount of tax, right? So in other words, they're trying to adjust that a bit. But at least that's an open admission that this is a wealth tax in the speech.
Oh, in the speech.
So we wanted to target 7%, but in the end we targeted 13%, right? Lawrence said it, right? So in other words, it's a direct admission that this is a wealth tax, right? Like we are recognizing that we only wanted to tax the rich in the property landscape, at least for the non-owner occupied property, that we talked about previously, right? So I think that's one thing.
Yeah.
As for whether companies are moving out, so this is the rich, right? Rich people may not have companies, right? They come here, set up an entity, they don't do anything, right? They just put the money here, invest in Indonesia, buy Vietnam, whatever, So they just operate out of here. They're not doing anything. So that is one type of wealth. The other type of more like businesses, right? It's two different discussions. Right? So from a business standpoint, I think the government is a bit more anxious. Okay. Even discussions leading up to the budget, like the whole, I think the Minister of Sustainability and Utilities, Grace Fu, right? Grace Fu also, she was a bit more defensive when it comes to like water tariffs and some of these things, So and it's true because a lot of our utilities and water is actually for industries. Yeah, they consume way more than us. Yeah, right. But we kind of, because we cannot compete on water, we cannot compete on land and human, then we try to compete on other things on some level, so that you don't make it so simple like package deal, right? You cannot so clear cut, you lose everything, right? Some lower, some higher, and very hard for the company to evaluate whether to move, right? So I think there's a little bit more concern there. Even with the BEPS, the whole new, they're essentially implementing some sort of a tax code on that. I think they all will take some time to see how it plays out. Yeah. Okay. But importantly, Lawrence finally changed the tune. For a long time, it's always, Singapore very chalat we don't have natural resources you don't work hard people gonna eat your lunch right? Yeah. But this time he said that our lunch not so easy to eat right? I mean not in that sense. Right. So he actually went on to talk about like how Singapore is where it is over the course of so many years. We built our competitive edge, blah blah blah. So this is a narrative shift. It's part of the opening, I think the early parts of the budget discussion, which I thought was like, that's interesting. Because for the long time, I was like, if we are so weak and wonky, why would we want this system? Right. So finally, these narratives have shifted to say that actually we are quite good, right? We got our own strengths, right? We are not so easy to compete with, but there are all these uncertainties. Let us do this, right? So to me, it's like, this is a narrative shift.
Oh, so you mean it's less about we are tiny red dot.
Yeah, we chala, we must work very hard. We got no resources, but the thing no more. The whole discussion gone.
We owning the Singaporean identity.
So it's like we are actually where we are. We got our own strengths. Not so easy to compete with us. Blah blah blah. So I was like, this is a different narrative. I've never heard this.
I mean, just on a slightly related note, over the weekend I was reading rumors online, right, that actually Taylor Swift has an exclusive deal with Singapore to keep all her concerts here, like exclusively in Asia,
Yeah,
there's an article out there, and
I won't be surprised.
And it's to a tune of millions of dollars per night, that is paid for by some entity in Singapore, right? Yeah. And so the idea is like, I think that a lot of the discussion there was like, wow, like how did Singapore pull this off, right? To get someone to just say, I will only do like 6 concerts in Singapore.
That means Taylor Swift not very wealthy, although she has 150 million.
Dude, Taylor Swift not very healthy.
Not very wealthy.
Oh, not very wealthy.
Yeah. Can be bought. Can be bought.
Oh, yeah.
Can be bought.
No, but I think
I feel like the Swifties gonna kill me already.
Possibly.
Say, I'm gonna get cancer.
You're gonna get skewed.
You just said Taylor Swift can be bought.
I was like,
Reggie,
wow.
you're fucked already.
No, but the larger thing for me was just the attraction of like, if I can just do my business in Singapore, just do my concert here in Singapore, I probably earn like less than if I, actually brought my business elsewhere, my concert elsewhere to every different country, right? Because you can easily get 9-10 million per show that you do elsewhere. But the attraction of just being in Singapore and, is safe, no political instability and things like that, trumps making that amount of money. And that's what we're trying to build towards, right? Like what you said, like this resilience that Singapore is attractive to people in spite of the things that we don't have and all that.
So essentially, some entity, I don't know what entity, essentially paid a premium for Taylor Swift to just be here, right? And don't tour around, right? It's easier on you, just stay here, right? And that's kind of where it is. And then we monetize with our hotels and our airlines, right?
Tourism. So it's like a subsidy for tourism.
It's exactly. So that's why STB is a very wealthy one. A lot of the project, you do all the art for NAC, no budget one. But you talk to STB got budget one. STB can make magic happen.
You can imagine, right? The F1 thing is going to end when? Our contract with them.
I can't remember.
Don't know whether we're going to renew, right? Maybe this is the next thing, lah. Let's just focus on concerts in Singapore. It's in some way like a week-long thing. You can argue that a lot of people are flying their corporate executives, if a Taylor Swift concert is the only one in Asia. So if they really manage to do that, that's pretty baller, man.
Yeah. And just think about it as like getting businesses to come to Singapore, right? Is that the same idea?
Yeah.
You want them to come here and stay, and it might be more attractive to go elsewhere, but look at the comfort you have here, and everything is so easily accessible and blah blah blah. That's why bother to go elsewhere? You come here is the best.
So did you stand up and say the pledge while Lawrence Wong was saying that?
Relax. You got do not say. You got do not.
I wasn't watching it on live stream, bro.
Okay. We were commenting on the chat. It's like, why can like that one? Like the ang pao is the one that I cannot tahan. That $200 ang pao through the live
actually, there's quite a few ang paos being given, right? But specifically the $200.
Specifically, that's the one I cannot tahan because it's like, it's very, I know why they do it lah. It's like marketing for the MINDEF and NS, right? It's like, we would like to thank you for your service. This is your 200 ang pao. Actually, you can thank many people with this 200 and for all sorts of ways. You can thank all the working mothers, like $200 for you. You can, there are 101 ways to put out this 200 because at the end from the government balance sheet, I'm just going to give $200 to 1 million plus people. All right. So there are 101 ways to give out. Right, it does not change the fundamental policies. It does not affect anything in significant ways, right? But they use it to kind of, paint NS in a better light, lah. No, NS, we care for you, blah blah blah. So to me, it's like, okay, this is a bit marketing, right? But to be fair, if I'm the government, maybe I would do that also, right? Ultimately, you decide what you want. What you want to do, right? So, but that was one thing that I was a bit more annoyed.
But then on the topic of ang paos, there's a lot more handouts being given also, CDC top up, the USAVE vouchers, and online I've been seeing some people comment, I hate this voucher thing, because the voucher still ultimately leads to spending and shit, increasing inflation. But like, what's your analysis of that? Like the culture of like, okay, we increase GST, but we give you more handouts. We do this, but we give you more handouts.
I think it's a few different things, right? Like inflation is a different topic altogether, right? But I'm okay with this. Actually, I don't find it a bad thing, right? To me, it's like, okay, fair. It's actually more people from the middle lower will benefit from something like that. Yeah, so I don't fundamentally think it's bad, lah. Right? The whole inflation argument, that was a bit questionable.
I think because let's say, for me, my Life SG credits, I think the last time I used it on my buying a TV through Lazada, the one I got last year. So, in some sense, that's why when I saw it, I was like, but what would be an alternative? This one, they are trying to help the lower income, maybe lower middle income. Is there an alternative? And that I don't know. I think some complaints I saw, but you're giving the vouchers to the wealthy also.
This is a big debate, whether it's means testing or universality, right? This is the universal schemes versus means tested scheme. This is a big debate. I don't think we need to go there. It's a very difficult debate, and I'm not very well poised for that lah. But if you want to talk about like helping the lower middle income, I don't think this is the only one. I think the important one that the whole news cycle has essentially forgotten, right, is LQS, local qualifying salary. Right?
In some way, the minimum wage.
In some way, it is a pseudo minimum wage, right? The only people that are spared from it, right? If you think about it, the only people that are spared from this minimum wage, right, are like small businesses like us. You know, when like 2 or 3 of us, we start a business, then when we first start, we got not a lot of money, then we sell koyok to one of our good friends,
Yeah.
you know, then they work at a subpar minimum wage,
Yeah,
you know, and then like they grind together with us and we get somewhere, you know, or like your kopitiam people that, you know, the auntie come and help out on the weekend, you know, like your wife, your spouse, whoever kind of support you, you know, then you pay them a bit, that type. So these are the small business people that will essentially not be affected by this, at least for now. For almost every other business in Singapore, as long as they hire foreigners, right, they have to set a floor wage for their locals, right? Full-timers is 3,000, you know, hourly workers is 10.50. It was $9 to 10.50. That's a 15% increase. 2,005 to 3,000. That's a 20% increase. So they are moving the floor quite seriously. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, and even for all of us, right, like we are not affected now, right? But if all the big companies do it, right, which they have to, then that is the new floor. Eventually, we also kena. Right? So that's the reference rate. Right? Other people pay me 10.50. How can you not pay me less than 10.50? So essentially, that is an essential minimum wage. It just has some sort of a caveat to spare some of the rest people, you know, like the smaller businessmen. Yeah, but it is effectively a minimum wage.
So then why do you think the media cycle did not focus on that?
People don't understand this thing. It's a bit hard to grapple. Right, like people only care about the voucher, this thing, that thing. Media care about the share, right? Can share not, easy to share not, can get viral not, right? So that's what the media cares about. But actually, I think this LQS thing is an important, you know, discussion.
Wait, sorry, just to step back, the LQS is basically, if you want to hire foreigners,
yes,
all locals must minimally earn 3,000
something like that.
going forward.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that because of that, all the large companies, MNCs, that definitely hire foreigners,
of course,
will have to pay their locals a minimum salary.
Yeah.
And because of that, like locals looking for jobs, they'll be like, oh, the MNC, I can earn this much. Why should I go and work for SME? Or why don't you pay me this much?
Yeah.
SME that maybe is even still hiring all locals only.
Yeah.
So by default, those SMEs will also have to start paying like that same
in a few
minimum,
years lah. In a few years, when the whole like friend premium disappears, right? Then everybody have to move along. That's a new flaw in the market. Right. So it's not a direct, you know, everybody kena, you know, some of the SMEs will have more time to kind of manage this situation, but eventually it sets a floor. Right. So that is a pseudo minimum wage.
So why do you think that's important to talk about?
Because based on what you've set up just now, which is where the Reddit people are talking about, right? Like all these voucher handout, we're not helping the poor, blah blah blah. Because this is the old narrative. Right, the old narrative has this like, oh, we cannot like give handouts, blah blah blah. This is the old narrative that PAP set up for themselves, right? But the new narrative is different, right? Since about 2-3 years ago, you really start to see the shift, right? Okay, you can even argue. Some people say 10 years ago start to shift because 2011 lost our unit, right? That is not important. Either way, the narrative has shifted. Right, and at this point in time, the minimum wage is the one that is important, right? Relative to this handout eventually will disappear.
Because I think policy-wise, there's always been a pushback against the concept of minimum wage, right? Right, because I think that was debated in Parliament also. It was a big
not
thing
one
for
time,
the opposition,
many
right?
time. Yeah.
So in this what you're saying is like a pseudo minimum wage. That is soon going to affect every business, but it's almost a bit more gradual and not fully on the nose to do that, right?
It's more tarik slowly you'll get there. I think that's kind of how you think about it. So it's interesting.
But in the lead up, you said you were preparing for a few months and all. Did you what in your research actually came across in Lawrence in the budget like, is this the LQS something that your research?
It didn't. It wasn't because primarily our audience are middle upper working professionals. Like their household income 10,000+, 20,000 type of people. So we try to like focus on them in terms of content delivery, right? But I personally care about a lot of these other things, right? So when that came out, I was like, oh, this is very interesting, right? Because if it's not a new policy, it's just that this LQS has been adjusted, right? So what does it mean? Does it mean that it's an admission that by setting up a floor or pseudo floor wage, it actually does not change prices as crazily as what the government originally feared? Right? If not, why you adjust so quickly, right? Or is it because now inflation there's a floor, so you just have to keep moving this? So I don't know exactly what's their thought process, But I just thought it's a very interesting thing,
Mm.
that everyone should look at it and say, hey, this is a pseudo minimum wage, guys. This is a flaw. It's setting a flaw, right? It's not just about voucher, tax and spend, all these are like redistribution. It's a very negative thought
It almost feels very
process.
short term.
It feels very short term. But in order to do long term changes, you need to manage short term pains.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's kind of how it is.
So for SMEs, should this be something that they fear, or like fear that they have to implement higher wages across the board?
I don't think it's fear, like you accept lah. This is what it is, bro. Right? So what if you fear? No choice. This is just the game.
Yeah.
Right. That means in the future, as long as you hire foreigners, it's just how it is. Right. You just have to pay it this way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the government sets the game, you play along. Yeah. So in other words, right, from now to then you better faster send your people go and learn programs, all these other things lah. Yeah. And to be fair, when SkillsFuture first came out, right, my thought process was like, oh, this is quite interesting because it essentially helps the SMEs. Right, all your MNC friends, they are every other day on course one. I always get email reply. Oh, sorry, I'm on course, 2-day course. Sorry, I am 1-day course. It's like, why the hell you're always on course? Every other month I get an auto email reply, right? So MNCs are always investing in their people, or whatever, like it or not. I don't care who spent it, but they are always upgrading. And even then, I don't think they are up to date on everything, right? Sure. But SMEs, when was, it's a bit harder for the SMEs to send their people, and it's not about the course fees. It's like when you send people on course, right, then nobody's working there. Yeah. Right. MSCs can rotate, right? Yeah. So I do think that this whole SkillsFuture thing was primarily set up for a lot of the SME bosses to be like, hey, not bad, Jing Hu kind of tarik some of these costs to upgrade my guys, right? So why not use it?
But the thing from the company perspective is different from the SkillsFuture, right? Because SkillsFuture is on an individual level. But there was another thing for companies to
use the SkillsFuture, right?
Of their employees.
No, there's additional benefit
for companies
to essentially allow their people to go and upskill and all that, right? So it's two things, right? It's not just about getting the company to spend. It's also the government saying that, okay, company, you cannot afford to spend, I will spend. Yeah. But you must let your guys to go and learn. Right? So I think that's the SME narrative or the mentality that has to kind of shift along. It's not that the government wants to kill you, it's just the market is going to kill you. Right? Today you still hire writers, I hire a GPT, right? And they settle everything. Right, so it's just a different landscape, I would say.
Yeah. So do you think that the SMEs have, since the introduction of SkillsFuture and that, it has lived up to what the promise is for SMEs?
I don't know. This one I don't have enough conclusive data. I think SkillsFuture did launch a report. I haven't read the report.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have enough data. But do you feel anecdotally? Do you feel like it's better?
I mean, that's the thing lah. Yeah. I barely looked at or touched my SkillsFuture stuff. Granted that I'm running my own business and all these kind of things. But even when I've actively looked at it, I haven't, at least in our industry and all that, I haven't found something that has really clicked for me. But I have anecdotally also know people who have gone for courses and all, and then really changed careers. Left the media industry into data and things like that now. And quite happy, quite successfully pursuing this new line. Yeah. So, I mean, it works for some.
Yeah.
I think like same thing I've looked before also, but there's a lot of free content on YouTube that if you want to learn how to do some editing or even build a website and all, whether you go for SkillsFuture, I mean the last time I went, I was like, everything here, it feels a bit dated at that point. I don't know whether they have rejigged it lah. I'm guessing now there will be, because SkillsFuture ultimately the courses are all run by SMEs lah, a lot of them lah, right? And I know certain companies set up companies with the prime basis of doing trading.
SkillsFuture.
Yeah, yes. So I think with this, it's a boom time for them, right? Yeah. Especially for companies that want to do AI stuff. Because I can imagine there's going to be a huge demand for AI or a big push for AI courses.
I'm not sure if it will definitely be a boom, because the internet also talk about it, right? I think some people are saying, oh yeah, this thing are not useful one. We'll just help all these course providers. They will make their money, blah blah blah, right? Correct. But I think the government specifically said that they will scope it tighter, right? As to what does it mean? Who are the providers? Is it only the Institute of Higher Learnings? I think so. I would think so. It's more on that ground.
Not the private SMEs.
But I don't know the exact numbers yet.
They need to avoid the the production and innovation credit that they had before. And then the fiasco they came up with
PCG grant, is it?
no,
That one,
PIC.
Oh, PIC. Oh
Then the
my
guy,
God.
dude
spoiled
used he used it for his social escort website to build his social escort website.
Are you serious?
That where his mother and his father were employees or something like that, some strange
I
ass
don't
thing.
know.
And he got the full grant and everything.
The PIC grant was great. It was great. Then
uh,
a few years ago they canned it lah, and that thing made the news lah.
Yeah.
Okay, now.
It is what.
But based on everything you're saying, sounds like you over the weekend you must were smiling all at Lawrence Wong's budget all.
I mean, to me, it is more about, okay, so based on this, what is the government telling me that they cannot say openly? Right? Like, which government will go and say, oh, we're going to go into recession? It's a bit hard, right? Because some of these things you say already, it affects the market. It's even worse, right? You expedite the problem. So some of these things you cannot say, but you don't just listen to what people say. You kind of look at what they do, right? Like what are the policies that are being set out. So it looks like there'll be some of these things, lor. So when I thought about this, okay, interesting. Then
what about the stuff for like families and all? You know, like the...
Actually, Budget Babe I mean, if you're... can I plug my show?
So
come to our show. And I think Budget Babe, which is Dawn, she's quite famous in the whole like influencer space, right? And then she was quite annoyed with like, there's not a lot of mummy things. I was like, cannot every year mummy things, okay? Please control yourself, It's like, there's no mummy things. We got no tax relief. I don't have more kids. I was like, if I give you more tax relief, will you have more kids? I'm not sure. Shit, is that right? So there's not a lot of that. I think there's a little bit on the whole like childcare, kind of bring it down a little bit. There's something about like special needs kids. I think those are good. But yeah, it's like that, lor. I don't see a seismic shift.
I guess for her, to be fair to mothers also, I think last year a lot of mothers were annoyed with the fact. I think they took away
the working
mother's credit, or they made it harder for people who earn a certain income to get it, which I mean, to be fully transparent, I think I also helped to craft like a complaint letter to my MP about it, on behalf of my wife and all that. Where basically they were saying like, if you are earning a certain income as a mother already, then you don't get this credit, Which maybe they don't need the credit as much, but it's like what you said about the $200 ang pao thing. You want to take from certain group to give to another group. But why you take from this group of working mothers who already are feeling the pain, like there's other groups to take from to give to that
no
group,
and then this year actually I vaguely remember, don't quote me on this exactly, because actually my preparation is already economics, but the social one, I vaguely remember that that whole credit, right, essentially shift to mums in general, whether you're working or not, as long as you fall below a certain income threshold, right? So essentially it is now taking money from the working professional mummy to give to all the other mummy, especially the stay-home mummies.
Yeah, correct.
Right? So if you think about it, some people are happy, some people are not so happy, right?
Yeah, so I mean, they are trying to correct the inequality in society, yes. But I think what the people are saying, like, why correct it within the group of mummies, like you can take from another sector of society.
Take from who?
Whatever like increased tax from
somebody will be unhappy, right? Whoever you take from, right?
Correct. So, but the thing is that they went out of their way to take from the more affluent working mothers, And I think the complaint is like, what message are we sending about being a successful, capable working mother, it's obviously the amount of money is not the issue, but it's just like the principle of like how do you value, why do you see that all these working mothers are getting too much and then take from them and then give to their group. Like, you should give to their group, but where do you take from that? That's the big question.
Fair.
So I that's where I see that mothers, maybe they feel last year the hangover, they felt aggrieved, right?
Yeah. So this year they were looking for
nothing
right? That's like very minuscule. This year's speech very short.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because shorter speech actually got a lot of stuff inside.
Also, this time was typically shorter, is it?
I feel like it's shorter. I don't know, or maybe because my whole group of guys was watching together, so
it was fun.
It was more fun. Yeah. So, but I did feel like 1.5 hours, not very long. This speech.
But then there was also a lot of things about CPF, like some big changes to CPF,
That's big.
which has pissed off a bunch of people
on the internet.
on the internet.
People always piss one.
Yeah. Correct. So maybe can give some context about that.
So essentially, they're removing the SA, right?
Ah.
Special account, no more, right? So
Only for people above 55 lah.
no. I don't think it's for people above 55 only. It's everybody will have none of this.
Oh,
right?
okay.
It's just that it only affects you when you're 55.
I see.
Right? Only when you're 55, then the RA will appear. Woo, retirement account,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
So
okay.
So it's not about which age, okay? But in general, they're removing this structure, right? So no more special account, only retirement account, right? So what a lot of the people online are unhappy is they can no longer practice this thing called CPF shielding, right? Which essentially what people do is they'll buy some sort of an investment, right? Right before they turn 55, so they park everything into their account. Then after that, they sell it and then they credit all the money into special account. So while the retirement account give you X amount of interest, the special account also give you X amount of interest, which is higher than OA.
Which is like 4+%.
Yeah, 4+%.
Right?
So to a lot of people, it's like, wow, we found a hack, right? Like, we're gonna get 4% from the government, you know. And then now the government say, okay, we're gonna can this, right? No more, right? And then but I won't say I'm surprised, you know, but I'm like, okay, I kind of get it because the government is trying to do more CPF Life. Right, so CPF Life is like the main thrust. They're moving away from the old system, you know, where you can just draw whenever you want to draw, you know, that type of thing. Right, so everything will be a CPF Life structure. So as CPF Life becomes more and more certain, you know, the government like, oh, okay, this one can rely upon, then likelihood you will see more and more money put into CPF Life, which is a pure annuity program. That means every month you will get X amount of money from CPF all the way until you die. And then the remaining that's left in the account will still pass down to the next generation. So it's what we call annuity program.
Which is something that has been around.
It's been around, I think, since 2011. Don't mark my words, but it's been more than 10 years already. Yeah.
Okay, so that means the group that is pissed off are the people who were banking on this, like almost guaranteed 4+% interest.
Yeah, I would say it's the people that will listen to me. Yeah,
part of there's this 1M65 movement.
Oh yeah.
1 million by 65 or something.
Yeah. So essentially that is their whole. It's important to them because it's part of their whole movement, right? How do you get 1 million at 65? Of course, you accumulate and then you like invest somewhere and then you accumulate and then, you know, that there's a structure to this thing. So essentially, they are playing with the whole like investing with your CPF and then exit into the special account. You know, so you kind of accumulate from there. If not, if you just do the very simple plain vanilla thing, you're supposed to invest. You contribute. There's a max amount that how much you can contribute in your CPF, right? So that's just the game lah.
So, but it sounds like it was a shock to them lah.
It's a shock because you lose at 4%. So now you got to figure out, you know, because now it's no longer there. Then the 4% is no longer there. So in other words, your next best choice is the OA, which is the 2.5%, right? Then meanwhile, you got to figure out lah how to make that 1.5%. Then you start to see all these other brands start to the ads all flooding the internet. It's like, oh yeah, in order to get the 4%, you can buy this, you can do
ads
that.
the ads
all
are
flying
already,
around. Then we did a post, and you see all these agents sharing the post. And it's like, CPF shielding is dead, contact me.
Oh, is it?
And the usual culprits are there. I will not name names, but it becomes like suddenly there's a pool of money that, you know, on some level, because of CPF's change in policy, it unlocks, right? And then like all these agents and all these brands are going around trying to capture that money. I would tell people just relax first. You know, let the things settle down. You know, let your brain settle down.
So what other kind of ads have you seen pop up?
Primarily that, lor. I think that's the primary one. Yeah, because if you think about it, there's a few 100,000 per person that suddenly open up, you know. So you as an agent, you go in, you close them, you get a management fee 0.5%, which is a lot, 0.5% accumulated over a period of time. Yeah, so it's a boom time for a lot of the financial guys. Yeah.
Over the weekend.
Pretty much.
I mean, I'm assuming even for property, because you said there's that band shifting, right? There would be some agents who I assume like before your band shifts to this or something like that.
No, that one is based on annual value. It's nothing to do with the transaction price. So annual value is tied to what the government thinks your property is worth every year if you rent out. Yeah. So I think it's under IRAS. I think was it IRAS or HDB? One of them is managing this number. Yeah,
I see.
but it's a black box. Nobody knows exactly what's the formula inside.
Because I mean,
Right.
I would assume that has. I mean, you can look at the market rental rate. So this annual value comes
It's
from.
usually
comes
a bit lower than the
Bit
market
lower.
rental. Yeah, it's a bit lower. Yeah. So aga there, lor.
I see.
Yeah. So that's what everybody will say lah. Yeah. But as to exactly what's inside, no one knows. Yeah. So it's what we think. What I call a black box. Yeah.
So what are some of the things that I mean? You mentioned just now that the media has missed the LQS or focus, right? What else do you think are some important parts of the budget that is maybe not giving enough attention or people are not thinking about enough?
I think from a layman's perspective, is
Thanks, Reggie.
sorry, that was cut. Okay, so yeah, I think just from the usual, like, every Singaporeans like us, right? It's primarily just that and the Skills Future thing, lah. Yeah, I think that's just the main things, lah. But if you want to talk about like from an industry perspective, from like government trying to invest, put some money to stimulate the economy, then I think the whole like change the internet speed one important, lah. Right, so that was like 5 billion in over the course of 5 years. Right, so there's $1 billion every year into changing internet cables, and if you put it through the banking system, because these type of things is I spend on you, you spend on the next person, next person spend on the next person, so you outsource, right?
Yeah.
So when that happens, actually, the net economic impact could be like 10 billion. Per year, right? So it can kind of make up for, let's say there's a slight recession, maybe there's a 0.5% recession, this thing can easily make up for it.
Yeah.
Right? Just because government spend on infrastructure, and it's smart lah, because nowhere else to build. It's like what you want to build, right? Last time can build buildings, build that. It's very Singapore thing, and I do agree with this structure because you don't want the economy to have a big tank. It will affect a lot of people.
I mean, it's like you look at houses in the US, like sometimes summer or any place where there's land, I want to build a new garage. I want to build an extra room in the house.
Yeah.
Singapore, you can't do that shit.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So you
Reclaim
upgrade
land,
internet.
Reclaim more land. Isn't the East Coast?
Oh no, as an individual level.
Oh,
because some people you see right abroad, they make TikTok videos saying, over the past few months we just built this extra room and extension of our house. What the fuck?
Yeah. You want to do it right? Yeah, but
you'll be awesome.
But you can't.
Yeah. So then you change internet lah. Change TV, change curtain, change blinds.
I would say in the past few years it will probably be the MRTs. That was a big part of the infrastructure development. And then now there's the port and all that, right? Also developing. But yeah, this internet is an add-on, no? Right? So it's about 5 billion over the next 5 years. Yeah. Another thing that I thought, after we talked about this, I thought there was one more thing that was quite interesting. Essentially, Lawrence went on a long spiel to say this whole like green thing, right? It's not going to work. At least at this point in time. Right? Like they allocated money for LNG terminal. Liquefied nitrogen gas, right? Or something like that. Yeah, LNG terminal. Singapore has one LNG terminal, right? And they are building another one, right? So what does that mean? It means they're going to use more natural gas, right? Also means that they want to de-risk on that, right? The uncertainty a bit, because you just rely on one terminal, ma. It's a bit hard. Yeah, and then he went on a long spiel around like, oh yeah, we want to be green, we want to be sustainable, but we got no place for wind turbines, we got no place for like, solar farms, all that lah. And then all the other sources at this point in time, efficacy is still question mark. That's essentially what he said, right? And then he put money to build LNG terminal. Right? So it's like, essentially, he indirectly said that this green thing, we want to do it, but maybe not to the level that you are thinking of. You know what I mean? Because it's a lose money venture. And nobody wants to do a lose money venture. At least that's my reading to it.
I see.
I mean, the same thing lah. Like we all, in the spring cleaning that we did before Chinese New Year, same problem again. We think like we have this big pile of stuff that we want to recycle and all that. End up like we still can't find a proper place to really recycle our shit properly, right?
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating because every year has been like that, and we're like, what year is this again? Like, what? It's not 2015, 2016, 2017.
Because we're told essentially, these kind of things you cannot put in the blue bin.
You cannot. Yeah, there's a
you cannot put in the blue bin.
Yeah.
There's a recycling bin here, but you can only have this and
cardboard.
this
Only
and this.
cardboard.
Yeah, it must be folded up. But everything else cannot. Then we're like, okay,
we set up a bin just for folded cardboard.
Pretty much. That's what it's become. Yeah.
No, because I think the recycling, just like anecdotally, like what I've heard, or I think even CNA did some no, maybe not CNA. Basically, Singapore, the recycling plants are not robust enough to be able to differentiate or pull out certain parts that are contaminating the recyclables. So the moment there's one batch that has like a drink with like some food, immediately the whole batch is thrown out. That's why for a long time there were countries that were exporting stuff to China to recycle, because there the plants are like, I think you got one tissue paper you sneezed in, they can take out or something like that.
I don't think it's plants. I think it's people.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like, people
plants full of
pulling
people.
those things out.
Correct,
It's not like some. When we say plant, it's like macam I think auto, right?
Correct. It's just people.
Tissue papers can suck out. It's like
it's just people.
no, bro. It's just people, right?
People.
And China has since ended that, right?
Yeah. But it's why Singapore, like the recycling thing, it's something we kept facing, and even personally, household wise, I know some places that some people stay. I've seen before there also that the blue bins just get put together with in the green bin truck.
Yeah.
I think
I've seen those.
Yeah, which is
I thought that's recycle. But like no,
yeah, you do your part, like to fucking rinse your milk carton, make sure got no more milk. You put it, then you go into the green bin truck.
Yeah.
So maybe for Singapore, to invest fully in that, bit tough. I don't know, but I didn't pick that up. Interesting.
Yeah.
But so overall, like when you see Lawrence Wong doing this, like what kind of confidence does it inspire? Like how is his presentation of everything lah? Was it prime ministerial?
I think it's same with James, right? When you first see him, it's like, wow, this guy quite cool, huh? After you see him, it's like, oh, okay, lo. So it's all expectations adjustment, right? So when you first hear like Lawrence made a very big speech about 2-3 years ago, it's like, wow, this guy can make a good speech, But now it's like, okay, he made a speech.
Yeah.
Like you're expected like that, ma. And that's the difficulty of like stardom, right? Essentially, right? Your next hit, what's your next hit, right?
Yeah.
So same as a politician that needs to win votes, it's just like that, lor.
But you weren't taken up by his slow-mo TikTok that he released on Friday of him walking to...
My guys told me to parody it.
I saw that, I'm like...
Yeah, I was like, bro...
I don't know, man. That one feels a bit... I just felt like it's something going on the path of like, glamorizing the politician, which I don't really like.
But it's the reality of voting, right? So if you work in this...
Must be cool, is it?
Yeah, you must have some, appeal, right? So, he has chosen that path, or at least his comms team have chosen that path, Yeah.
But do you all think it was his Valentine's Day gift to Singapore, his budget?
Did he use the word?
Last year, what?
Last year, but not this year, right? He never said anything, right? Yeah.
Valentine's Day is February 14th. It's not, you celebrate it after, it's no longer Valentine's Day already.
Last year budget was before Valentine's Day.
Before all day.
I mean, Valentine's Day month, Terrence. Still Valentine's Day month, man.
There's this guy, like that's the what people who didn't celebrate Valentine's Day itself will say, right? Then they say, oh no, it lost the whole month.
But I must say, last Friday on the day of the budget, I recouped the Valentine's Day that I did not celebrate on Wednesday.
Okay.
Did on Friday night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, generally, so like from what you see online, like what's your take on how people are reacting?
I mean, online people is always crazy, right? Like the reaction is always like very intense.
Angry, is it?
I mean, it can be more often angry, but it's always very intense, right? So I'm not particularly surprised by their reaction. But yeah, we're trying to like, as we do this, we're all trying to kind of like dig deeper. Like, what does this mean? What is this? I think I seek for the clarity rather than the high, right? So I think that's kind of where we hope to go.
This people saying this is the chapter 1 of Forward Singapore. Do you see this as like the remodeling of the Singapore's future and everything?
I think some level. Yeah. Although at first after I listened, it's like, where's the remodeling? Right. But after you think, you sit down and think a little bit more about it. Oh yeah, now it's okay to study again. And it's not a one-off thing. It's not like, this is only these 2 years, like every time when the economy is not so good, then there'll be like, this one voucher to do this thing, this thing will learn that thing, But this is like a structure. They're setting up an ecosystem around it, right? So, and I think it's on some level you can say that this is a new phase, right? So this is quite cool, yeah.
Terrence, for you,
I mean, I think partially this is look at the larger picture of all the discussions we're having about budget transparency, the transparency about our reserves and all that. I think, and like a bit of a pivot, right, from the last couple of years where he's really talking about okay, we need to cure inequality in Singapore and all.
Mm.
Now it's like what you say, I think it's a lot of it's about the individual. What can the individual do to make yourself more attractive for a global economy, and less so about, the businesses this, businesses that, and all. But it's really you as an individual, you kind of need to take that responsibility for your own career. Because AI, we don't know where that's going, and all the uncertainty in the world, we don't know where that's going. But yeah, here's something to help you along the way, lah.
Yeah.
Right.
Rather than bet on the next hub, we bet on you, lah.
Yeah,
On some level, right?
In some way,
yeah,
in some way.
yeah.
You got to be blind to not see that AI is going to be a thing, lah,
yeah.
right? So go and study that if you can, lah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You?
I think for me, I mean, previously, like the past few years, I remember that whole sentiment or narrative that, there are two Singapores, right? It was always like, okay, what can we do for the wealthy to help the not so wealthy? Whereas this time, I also did feel like, okay, it's not just talk. Like, I was thinking, like, let's say if I'm in a mid-career switch or I just got laid off, actually hearing those kind of things are quite maybe encouraging.
Yeah, quite cool.
Yeah, quite cool. And
Yeah.
it's less about, okay, we take from the rich and we give you. You go figure out. Which is why I think the handouts, maybe sometimes too much handouts, it really feels like you're just giving. But this one is like what, the saying, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, in some way, like the structural stuff that they propose, I found it quite encouraging. And it felt like, in some ways, addressing inequality without being so like, okay, there are rich people, there are not so rich.
Yeah.
We need to take money from rich and give it to the poor.
To be fair, I don't think the PAP is the one that came out with the narrative, right?
The two Singapores.
Yeah,
No,
the two
it wasn't. It was
Singapore
mentioned by
is Pritam,
Pritam.
right?
Yeah,
So Pritam is the one that pushed it, right?
Yeah,
You
and I
know?
mean, it's something that you do feel, sometimes.
Yeah.
So in this
sometimes you
case-
go to like Katong, you go to Holland V.
Yeah,
it's
you're like,
what the hell? No wonder they all like Singapore.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, Singapore is amazing. It's like,
Singapore
where do you
awesome.
stay?
Yeah,
It's like Bukit Timah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know Singapore is amazing.
Yeah, Singapore, fucking amazing.
Tampines welcomes you.
Yeah. Oh, where's that? Where's that?
Oh,
Near the
wow.
airport. Near the
Oh,
airport.
wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
French, huh?
Yeah. Correct.
Senpai.
10 points. So I mean, in general, okay lah. Quite encouraging lah.
Yeah.
So you encouraged after.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting stuff to be a bit more like to hammer home again the two Singapore thing, but I didn't feel that as much as I thought.
Yeah,
it
not
would
so
be.
defensive.
Not so defensive.
Yeah,
I mean, he's trying to hammer down the two Singapore, right? Essentially, he's trying to not
Fix
talk
it.
about it, fix
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just kinda
Correct.
get it
Without
softer, right?
saying it, lah.
Yeah. And to be fair, you cannot every budget also tax the rich, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
The rich are very mobile. They can
Yeah.
go send their kids to London. A few years later, get citizenship, whole family shift.
Yeah.
There are many cases like that, right?
That's
So
true.
the rich is very mobile. So you want to like not so fierce, tarik a bit, yeah.
Yeah. But
Oh,
cool,
yeah.
man.
Cool, man. So I mean, we always come to this segment. I mean, you're familiar with it.
The
It's
one
called
shop thing.
Shiok Thing.
One
You
shop
came
thing.
prepared or not?
Yeah.
I didn't give you the
Oh,
heads up before
Oh
we
shit,
recorded.
I don't know.
Never mind.
what's
We can go first.
Okay, you go first. I will
you can
think of
have
what's my one shop
a
thing.
few minutes.
Mm.
Yeah. You got your one shop thing?
My one shop thing is actually last week. I mean, I was always a fan of wrestling in the old days, up to the 2000s. But more recently, I just look at it as a business and the personalities involved. And last week, The Rock, the last couple of weeks, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, right, has come back in a big way to the wrestling business. He became a board member of the TKO, the public company that owns WWE and UFC. And he also got involved in the biggest storyline in the business, which was basically the main event at WrestleMania between
Oh
Cody
my god,
Rhodes.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, right? So he got involved, and a lot of the fans got a couple of weeks ago. They went nuts because they were so angry. They were like angry that The Rock was just inserting himself as the new board member of the company into the storyline and not letting the storyline play out like how it's supposed to be. Although it's all scripted, right? But people still wanted to see certain kinds of rivalries and stories play out, and it just seemed like The Rock was just being like inserted because he's The Rock, right? And because he's now a board member. But I think last week they finally just they finally unveiled the direction that how Rock is going to come into the story, and basically they're making The Rock the bad guy, They're turning him heel, in wrestling parlance. When you turn heel, it's like when you start, scolding the crowd, making fun of them and all these kind of things. So The Rock came back and did a promo where basically he just essentially laid out that he's going to be like the bad guy for this whole thing. And he came out to a crowd in Utah and started to make fun of the crowd in Utah about Mormonism, about having 50 wives and stuff like that.
Oh, is it?
And it was fucking great because it's The Rock. Like, The Rock is a bad guy. It was like, it's gold. It's fantastic. So the internet just went wild again. Like, they're like, yes, this is what everyone needed. Like they needed a Rock to come back as The Rock and not Dwayne Johnson, the actor, the most famous guy on the internet. And he came back and he's just like shitting on everyone and talking about slapping the herpes off people's faces and stuff. So, I mean, we've not had that since like the 2000s. They call it like the Attitude Era, right? So it was just such a great callback to that whole time when wrestling was not PG rated and people were just like talking shit to each other and all. So yeah.
Because I saw clips of him being booed previously.
Yeah.
This was at that event or?
This was when they first like showed that The Rock was going to come in and you know, become like the main event at WrestleMania. And The Rock the last 10 years has been like the famous good guy that comes in and, you know, he's a big actor in Hollywood, but he loves wrestling, he loves the fans, he's so great, everyone loves him. So everyone just got, I think everyone sick over the years got sick of that, really, the good guy thing. And now he's come back and just taking over the role of the bad guy. And it's just so fun to watch.
Actually, that does sound fun because The Rock over the past few years almost is a bit too good already. Yeah. Even outside of wrestling.
Yeah. Trying the In-N-Out burger for the first time nonsense.
Buying his mom a house. Yeah, I'm like, dude, okay, good for you. But
leave that for Mr. Beast, right?
Yeah. That's right. No, but that's cool. So he's still going to be the main fighter in that main event?
No, I don't think so, but he's going to be part of the storyline as the bad guy in the story. So they call it Hollywood Rock. That's what the parlance is in wrestling. Like, you know, there's the good Rock and then there's the Hollywood Rock. Hollywood Rock's the bad guy. And this off the back, I don't even know, but like the founder of, or the boss of WWE for a long time, Vince McMahon, recently had some crazy allegations about like rape and like sexual harassment of employees in WWE come up. So there's been this tension that of like, are more people going to be uncovered as having covered up his actions in WWE? So it was just corporate-wise, there was a lot of bullshit to deal with. And it seems like this, like they thought, inserting The Rock in there might distract everyone. And it has. So that's why it's interesting. You look at it from like the larger business thing and the personalities and the storylines and how it all blends together. So yeah, if you just want to watch like a good like promo, and
like a stand-up set.
Fucking great, yeah. It was really like great, yeah.
Oh, awesome. Mine is some way related to what we were talking about budget. In the world of AI, because last week, everyone knows ChatGPT. Everyone knows OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. Previously, OpenAI released DALL-E, which was their text-to-image AI model. You key in and it generates some pretty amazing images. So last week they released their video equivalent, where what they say is just through a text prompt, it can generate up to a video of a minute of AI generated video. And if you go to the website, they have these demos which they claim it is not edited, it is not manipulated, it is just the output from one line of a prompt. And the videos are fucking insane. And of course, if you look at it in general, some of the prompts are like a stylish woman walking around the streets of Tokyo clad in black. And you look at it, it feels, okay, it's hyper realistic, but you can still differentiate. It looks like almost very good CGI you would see in a movie. Of course, you can see certain things with fingers. When they have close-ups of fingers, apparently AI doesn't do well with fingers. So you can see there's one video of like this grandmother blowing out a cake and a candle, and the flames are all a bit skewed, and there's one lady in the background, when she waves, her fingers are always changing. So I think it's mind-blowing. And when I first saw it, I thought, okay, this is some prank or parody. But I think as much as like it might not totally replace film or Hollywood, just looking at how much it has progressed in 1 year, right? Because last year, I think one famous video that made the rounds was Will Smith eating spaghetti generated by AI, and it was shit. So in 1 year, it reached this level. And it's just, I think, important for everyone to just look at how fast it's progressing. Because, it might not remove the need for actors yet. Hopefully, it never does. But anyone who needs like B-roll or in the business of taking stock videos, selling stock videos or even drone shots. Like in an ad where you need 2 to 5 seconds of like an amazing looking village, you look at it, you're like, oh shit, it's changing the moving images thing, like, and it's mind blowing, like I showed you a few videos before this also. It's crazy. It is crazy. So just interesting to just keep aware, lah.
A lot of debates online, like the cinematography, Reddit, and all that. People saying, some people going nuts about it. Some people like, don't need to be so kanchong. So I remember one funny comment was like, the guy was like, I am not worried about my job because, I shoot events, right? I shoot live events and all that. And people are like, oh, you think that you don't have to be worried. What kind of events do you shoot? I shoot Asian woman walking down an Asian metropolis at night with rain. So
Isn't that exactly what the video is doing?
So people are just shitting on how like this is but what we're seeing is some very specific examples. But we don't really know the full context of what it can do yet, probably so no need to be so kanchong, everyone is what they're saying.
But then you think about it, like for a while people were downplaying ChatGPT and like, oh, it will never replace this. But everyone who has interacted with ChatGPT, to a certain extent, it blows you away, right? Of course, there's all these prompts. So for anyone to say, oh, it's not a threat, maybe it's not a threat right now, but I think it's important to know, oh shit, this was what you look at where it was 1 year ago, where it is now. It's just something to bear in mind, something to bear in mind.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. So interesting. Sora AI.
Nice.
What about you, Reggie?
Oh yeah, I will just plug my event.
Sure.
Your one Shiok Thing.
Alamak, bro.
No, sorry. You can plug your event. You still need a one Shiok Thing.
Oh,
you cannot change the rules.
Okay, the rules of the game. One Shiok Thing. Now I plug my event first. Sure. One Shiok Thing, right? So please come on the 23rd of March. TFC is having our first financial wellness festival. I think it's 23rd of March. Right? You can check our website. You get the details. We hope to see you there. We'll talk about retirement, talk about how to manage your money as a couple, all that jazz, right? So good stuff. Come for the event. And Harish, let me plug one. So okay.
Yeah, and we can put a link in the show notes.
Put in the show notes. Okay, so come for the event, 23rd of March. One Shiok Thing. Okay, I'm not always on the internet to be fair, but I think it's quite shook that over the past 2 days, I've been bumping into a lot of old friends. Like for some reason, like
online.
No, on the streets.
On the streets.
Okay. I just bumping into a lot of old friends, like 2 or 3 of them, and it just feels oddly nice.
How's it happening? It's just random? Or?
It's just random. Like while I was coming to film, I was walking to the MRT, I bumped into an old friend. I was like, and you just chit chat, very low stakes type of conversation. How have things been, blah blah. And then like quickly escalated, like, how are you doing, blah blah. And it felt like one of those conversations where if you had more time, you would just sit down and then we can continue for coffee like that. So maybe I'm in that phase of life, I guess. Where you're kind of nostalgic on some of the old
going
stuff.
Back to like the authentic conversation,
like when you were kids, right? So it's just really nice.
So is your one Shiok Thing basically telling people don't use the internet so much, go out there,
stop watching WWE and
actually, sorry, Reggie, like that's very sweet, but it still doesn't fulfill the requirements of a one Shiok Thing.
Wait, so what's the requirements of a one Shiok Thing?
It's not just a one Shiok Thing that you enjoy. It must be something other people can enjoy also. So it wasn't an article that
okay. One Shiok Thing I did, also along the same vein, I caught up with a friend and then we went to the National Gallery.
Okay.
Right,
what's
and the aircon is good. But
true.
That aside, aircon is very good. But I've never been to the National Gallery like upstairs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was just outside there. Always a lot of people there. I just walked away.
Yeah.
But I went in, it's free for Singaporeans. You don't need to spend a single cent. And the exhibits were quite interesting. But a bit too arty-farty for me, like the exhibits. Like I don't totally get what it's trying to say, but I think the overall experience,
the
vibe was really nice.
And it's a beautiful building.
It's beautiful, very nice. The courts, everything. Yeah, it's just I never knew it was there.
We have actually even like presented and we've like sort of given commentary at a gallery before for visitors.
Serious?
Yeah. Where essentially we walk through a gallery and just like live just talked about what we were seeing and all that.
With the curator
with a museum curator. So it also amazed us like, we all have all this.
Yeah.
But very few people know about it. And actually it's fun to just spend the night there.
And that was when we did our first live event also, which showed up at National Gallery.
Yeah.
Serious?
Yeah. They invited us to do like a half-hour comedy thing, and we're like, let's record a podcast, and it sold out.
Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. So I really like the place. Like it made me feel like, oh, this could be a new place. Like I could hang out here more.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I really like it. Please check it out.
Well done on a good one, Shiok.
Awesome, right?
What
One
a-
Shiok
that was-
thing.
that
What
was
a
good.
pivot, man.
Yeah, what a hard pivot. Yeah.
The first
yeah.
one was just inward looking. First
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
plug your event.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
inward
Alamak,
looking.
then like that.
Then
see.
about
yeah.
it's something you experienced.
Yeah,
Also
yeah. It's
inward
not,
looking.
nothing to do with
So now,
friends.
yeah,
Okay,
well done.
Okay,
Reggie.
awesome. Thank you. I
Yeah.
approve. Yes, yes.
But thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thanks. I
And
love
if
it.
people want to find out more about what you do, where would be the best places to find you?
I mean, Instagram, if you just want to care about our work, right, just go to The Financial Coconut, the website, Instagram, YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple.
TikTok.
Yeah, all those things
Ah.
are everywhere, pretty much, right? But
Yeah,
if you want to
okay.
connect with me on a professional level, I think LinkedIn will be best,
Okay,
right?
cool.
Yeah, so that's it.
Indeed, bro.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening,
This is
everyone.
our inaugural thing, yeah. Every year we do this. No,
But
not
inaugural
not
is
inaugural.
first.
It's our yearly
Annual.
affair,
Annual,
annual
yeah,
affair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
our pilgrimage.
Yeah.
Financial pilgrimage. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll talk to you all soon.